I talk big trash about the film, never saw it because I hate scary movies. So it's more the idea of I'd rather watch something that's action-y for my scary movie, and I'd rather immerse in something scary as a video game, is all I'm trying to say.
What a guy.
I don't think the film was super well loved, though.
Especially by people who haven't seen it. Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name is Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
Nolan.
And this is episode 371. All right, Nolan, Kenny.
What?
The
Hi.
Diablo 4 beta is out and you both have spent a couple of hours logging into the game and a few minutes at least playing the game. We are dying to hear your initial thoughts.
I would love to give you initial thoughts if I had played the game.
You did.
Yeah. Kind of.
I have a lot of thoughts about the queue screen
Yeah.
for getting in,
Yeah.
Y'all need
because that's where
That's
we
what we stared
mostly
at.
sat.
Y'all need to record just your initial raging
We will.
impressions. Like
We-
that
we
would
are.
be helpful.
Because so this is the early access beta, so it's kind of technically closed, but not really. It's still open. All you have to do is buy the game. Or double down from KFC. It's unacceptable. You're Blizzard. You're the biggest company. No one's going to argue that. You had a massive fail of Diablo 3's launch. The game itself, not beta, the game sucked. That launched the whole day I couldn't play it. It's a big meme. Error 37, it's famous. And you've done it again with this beta. And they're going to say, oh, but it's a beta. This is expected. No. You framed this beta as wanting the player's feedback about mechanics and systems that you have made about Diablo because we have experience with the series. You didn't want... I didn't pay you $90 to stress test your servers. Shut up. Stop it.
90?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes. Yeah, you really don't know how much things
That's
cost.
more expensive than a normal new game.
Yes, it is. And you don't get anything else, a little cosmetic stupid thing, and access to the beta. I paid them to test their game, and I can't even play the game. It's bad.
Yeah,
I'm
you
pretty
pay
upset.
more than a normal new game to play a game that is not ready to test it for them, to struggle to even get in to test it for them.
Yeah, it's cool.
I will say, the little nugget
Yeah,
taste
this is what I need.
of the game that I got before it randomly froze on me and kicked me back out, and then I had to go back into the queue,
Dustin, that-
which happened.
3 times to me yesterday.
Yeah, which certainly happened. Was good. I was relatively pleased. We'll see. I'm not 100% sold yet. We need to see as characters evolve and you get more skills.
It has some problems.
Yeah, it's not perfect.
Yes.
But I've been enjoying myself,
I have to.
We'll see if it holds up once it fleshes out.
I've been enjoying myself as well. Kenny and I will make probably 2 videos. One, just us getting pissed at the servers, and then another one that's like a deeper dive after we've spent like a week playing it with the different classes and stuff. So it's pretty fun. I hate myself that it's fun, but it's fun.
It looks fun. It looks good. The story looks darker than ever. Like,
Certainly
I know,
more than Diablo 3.
I mean, it's
Cartoon
hard to
Network.
be darker than dark.
It's always been dark, but
Yeah.
that church scene, that chapel scene was amazing.
Yeah, Lilith is a cool villain.
Lilith is
I wanted to hate her because I hate their social media account. Has been so cringe about her and like everything, but it's cool.
Well, like I said, I watched Nolan play for a good few hours last night, and if anything could be said about my friend playing Diablo 4, he was definitely on demon time. Like in our retro game of the week, Silent Hill.
Overview.
Silent Hill, be quiet, is a 1999 game for the PlayStation. Konami published it, and a dev team from Konami developed it called Team Silent, and they went on to make more Silent Hill games. This is a pretty big franchise now. It's getting a remake soon. I think they announced. I don't remember. I think the second one. That's all probably wrong. But it's a it's a beloved series that is still like appreciated today and still coming out today. In fact, there's like a movie for it. And so if all of this sounds familiar, that's because they followed the Resident Evil path. I mean, this is Konami, but Capcom has Resident Evil, and this Resident Evil came out 3 years before this game. So they're kind of already established as like the survival horror guys, and that series is very respected and well known. That went on to make a series and movies as well. But I never really felt conflicted about the two. Like sometimes people are really passionate about one series and hate the other. But every time this comes up, everyone's like, love Resident Evil, love Silent Hill, maybe a little more. I love them all. And so I was excited to get to play this series finally after being a Resident Evil head.
I wanted to hear both of your thoughts. Kenny and my thoughts on this are going to admittedly be pretty juvenile because of our experience and stuff like that. But Nolan, you have long time been a Resident Evil stan.
Yeah.
My understanding is that you hadn't played Silent Hill, but had always been interested in Silent Hill.
Yes, and respected it as a franchise, yes.
Now, all of us, though, having played at least some of both franchises, I wanted to know our general takes on the Silent Hill, Resident Evil controversy or whatever, because like GamePro reviewer a long time ago, a GamePro reviewer from a long time ago said Silent Hill was a shameless but slick Resident Evil clone. Other people, you've got them being a little bit lighter on that, saying no, it's just Capcom's entry into the same general market. What are your thoughts?
I have some thoughts that might be spoilery for the episode if I reveal them here. But shameless ripoff. What was the wording?
Shameless
copy?
But slick Resident Evil clone.
Disagree. Hard.
Oh, it's not slick.
No, I just disagree with that sentiment of like, man, they're just trying to do Resident Evil. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I get it. I totally get that comparison, and of course you can compare it. But I don't know. Games can be similar. It's fine.
Kenny?
Yeah, I mostly agree about the outcomes, not about why, with Nolan here. Just generally, I will say Silent Hill, better games, Resident Evil, better movies.
Wow.
Shut up.
Maybe not better. Maybe not
First
better.
of all.
I'm sorry. Better is a strong word. If I'm picking games, Silent Hill. If I'm picking movies, Resident Evil.
I don't know about that, but I do agree with both of you that I don't think it's just a shameless but slick Resident Evil clone. I do think it stands on its own, but I do think it is completely fair to compare and contrast the two because they are a similar genre, but I think Capcom did their own thing here.
Absolutely. They found their own identity in this series. And if we haven't mentioned, this is a survival horror game, so it's Kenny's favorite genre, right?
False.
Oh, man.
Is it your least favorite?
Probably.
It probably is because you played a game that wasn't horror and still found something horrifying about it.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely. I do not like being scared generally. I don't know about very least favorite genre. Someone out there has I don't even know.
Okay.
No.
You play as Harry Mason. Don't like that name. Just a normal dude who is driving in the fog in pretty poor driving conditions with his daughter Cheryl. You get in a car wreck, swerving to dodge another little girl, potentially. And you get out of the car after being dazed and find that Cheryl's missing. And Cheryl's a little girl, so obviously you're like, what? But I would expect him to be a little more panicked than he was. But then you go through this abandoned town, again, in the mist, very eerie setting, trying to find Cheryl, finding clues that Cheryl's left behind for you to send you to different parts of this town and discover what's going on, because there's definitely something evil going on.
The director didn't have much experience with horror movies, but was interested in UFOs, the occult, and Nolan, David Lynch movies. Have you heard of the director David Lynch?
He
before?
loves Twin Peaks. This game
Nolan, did things just
Makes
fall
a
into
lot
place?
of freaking sense.
Nolan, not only was the director inspired by Twin Peaks, but the composer was inspired by Twin Peaks as well. Like, there's so much I believe there's at least one Twin Peaks reference in the game. If you don't understand, Nolan is a big Twin Peaks fan.
Don't tell me what the reference is, because here's the thing.
Oh,
I now, which my wife's favorite genre for video games is survival horror. I wanted to play this with her anyways, but I'm now going to start over from the progress I made, which I made pretty decent progress, and play it with her because that's her favorite thing of all time, and it's one of my... David Lynch is a GOAT. Twin Peaks is amazing, and this game makes a lot of sense. I'm glad you just told me that.
Gameplay.
I want to start with the Resident Evil comparison because I do think that is going to helpfully lodge into the minds of our listeners what you're experiencing in this game. In that, you have a third-person perspective, behind the back, generally perspective, of your character that is somewhat polygonal, that is operating on tank controls, meaning up is always forward, regardless of which way Harry's Mason is facing.
Love them.
And so you could be facing the camera, facing you, the player, pressing up, and Harry is running towards you.
It makes sense.
Well, I don't know if it makes sense, but
Sure.
it
makes sense.
Okay, well, it doesn't, because up should certainly be up, but I'm okay with tank controls. I do think that they are a bygone of yesteryear,
yes.
and I'm glad that they are no longer a thing, but honestly, that and many other things this week made me go back to the era of PlayStation, which is just the time that I love.
Oh yeah, I love every time one of these games comes up, because there's a feeling of it doesn't have to be this genre. There's just a feeling of PlayStation 1 that feels so cozy.
I didn't have in my hand, but I felt like I had a DualShock 2 controller in my hand this entire week, which was just so good. Which, by the way, did you see or read that when you played this back in the day, if you had a DualShock controller with a vibrating function, the heartbeat of your character would pulse
Your character
with the
when
controller.
you'd get low on health.
No.
Sick.
Yeah, so
That's-
not all the time.
Yeah, sure.
But it would give you an indication that you needed to heal
Sick.
up, which is so great.
That's cooler than the PlayStation 4 thing that they do now. There's a speaker on a PS4 controller now.
I've
that'll,
seen
talk
that
to you
done
and
well.
stuff. I've seen it done well some, like Last of Us does it with the flashlight or something, but that's even cooler, the vibrating.
Yeah. But Nolan, something you noticed in your first play that I also didn't love is that there's no quick turn. There's about face.
Very important tactic in Resident Evil if we want to start doing the comparisons. Yeah, bad. But also I needed it less often than I do in Resident Evil, which is a difference here. And I don't know if that's, again, I didn't even get halfway through the game. I got through the school, which I think is pretty good because the school's freaking hard. There was
further than you. Interesting.
There's a lot less combat. There's a lot less combat in general from my experience with this game compared to Resident Evil. So the about face I missed, and I was constantly hitting X and down, but I got over it because I wasn't getting swarmed.
Other things that are the same between this game and Resident Evil: clunky menu-based interactions.
Clunky.
Really? What was your problem with the menu? It didn't look pretty, but I thought it was super easy to maneuver.
He doesn't like the menu to reload.
Yeah, menu to reload is bad. Menu to take a health potion is bad.
No. But
yes.
One, there is in the options you can turn on auto reload. That's what I did. Two, I didn't have to get health back often because I'm just good. But then three, I love what they did. Games didn't do this then. They're starting to figure it out now. But the no HUD. There is nothing on the screen except your character and the world.
I am very pro no HUD for this genre
Immersive.
and certain other genres.
Immersive.
Not all of them.
Yeah, they don't
but
all
for
need
something for something like this where you're trying to be immersive, great call. I don't think that doesn't mean you can't give yourself a hotkey to reload or something. The having to menu through and do some of that management bugged me. They weren't like deep, gross menus. It was relatively easy to use, so that was nice. But that just is always sort of a sticking point for me. I think what they were trying to protect in doing it was the right choice, but they could have found a middle ground there.
The first area that you're in is the town, is Silent Hill, which, by the way, Harry and his daughter were going on a vacation. Were they going to Silent Hill? Because bad idea.
I don't
but,
think so.
Okay, they either way, they get stuck here, but you're in this town, in this village. It reminded me, let me cook. It reminded me of games like BioShock and a few others that we played where the area that you are is a character, is somewhat alive. And this town you come back to multiple times. You spend a good amount of time there in the beginning sequence, but you come back and you're going through this town to get to this elementary school. So spooky. Get to the church, get to the house, get to wherever you're going. And that town is a place you're going to be often. And it feels, as much as I guess 1999 PlayStation could, feels alive and spooky, and the roads are disproportionately massive. But I think the town is done interestingly well.
Yeah, and if we're still comparing, you look at Resident Evil 1, all the good survival horror games had that going on. Like in Resident Evil 1, it was the mansion, totally a character. I mean, exploring that mansion was like that's the game. It's just, you love being in there and discovering secrets. This one stands out from that, and that it is a town, and it's quite big. I mean, you get the map, and I pulled it up, and I was like, oh, sick. I have a pretty detailed map. It's a big area. Like for a PlayStation 1 game?
Can we point out how good those maps are?
Y'all, I loved
a great
that
map.
I
love all the maps
it.
you come across.
I love the map because it explains things right away. You know, in the school, for example, you know you've got to go to the second floor if you want to get to the alchemy lab or whatever they called it, and you need to go. Anyways, you can get those things, but the thing that I loved, the map's not really interactable, but you can always see where you are, and Harry makes notes on the map as you visit rooms. Not only have you been there, but is there an item there? He'll write out a little thing. I love that.
Sometimes
it's
which
great.
Doors can be opened and which can't. Like a whole bunch of useful information that will help you not feel less lost. And you're going to feel lost here. Because even though you're in a big world and we say, hey, welcome to this entire town, you really can't see that you're in a town because you've got a 3-foot range field of view.
Yeah, it's small. And that's what's so brilliantly done. What's so brilliant about the town is you'll be going through it. Like you have the map and you're like, okay, there is logic to this place. There is. I have the map. But then you start walking a little bit and you're like, I feel like I'm looping. I feel like I've seen this before, but you haven't. You look at the map, you're like, no, I'm making progress. You do get lost, and they intentionally do this to make you feel obviously alone, like you're not, pretty helpless. It's really clever the way they made the base city, but then when you go into the different areas, it's kind of a fresh experience, almost like a dungeon. Like that's a stupid word for it, but like the school feels like this whole new experience. It has a map, you have to get familiar with it all over again, and you still feel completely hopeless and helpless.
I think there's 3 main components to Silent Hill games. I'm making it up as I go along, but I think this makes sense. Exploration, combat, and puzzles.
Same for Resident Evil, yeah.
And the exploration we're kind of talking about now, right? Like exploring the town, exploring the different areas, filling out the
finding
map.
clues.
We can talk about combat, but let's talk about combat first, because you said that you didn't do it much. You certainly don't do it as much in Resident Evil, and I think this is one of the areas where it sets this game apart and this franchise apart from Resident Evil, because Resident Evil, I feel like, is focused on the monstrous, right? Like you're coming against new forms of zombies and creatures that you're having to fight and kill. You've got limited ammo, limited weapons, but you're combating them regularly. With Silent Hill, you are facing more of the psychological rather than the monstrous. And you can fight things, and you're also limited on ammo and all of that, but you are encouraged to flee. A good example, in Resident Evil, you are usually controlling someone that is combat adept. Here, you're using a guy that just got a gun for the first time.
Just a dude.
Yeah.
And his combat demonstrates that because he's got poor aim, he's got slow aim, and that's not just bad function of the gameplay. That is how they set it up.
Yeah.
And they did some kind of cool things here. Not only letting you get far enough away from a monster and feeling like you've escaped, which is nice, a little unrealistic, like once a demon has seen you, I can't imagine that. I don't know, I guess that fog is really effective for them too. But doing things like allowing you to be seen because you have a light on, and if like something is coming closer to you, like it's about to swoop in and like get you, you got the option to turn your light off and like lose it, which you kind of don't want to do in a horror game, but you kind of do want to do because it's going to keep you from having to fight them. So there was some kind of clever implementations of that, like you don't necessarily have to fight everything mechanic here.
And when you do end up having to fight, I thought it felt appropriately clunky, like you were saying, Dustin, because it's just some dude. But I mean, you're holding a steel pipe, and like it's set up like this. You brace yourself to either swing a melee weapon or shoot, and then you press a button to execute the action. So the steel pipe was my go-to because it's like, I mean, I'm not wasting ammo, and it's actually pretty effective. So he like stands like a dad, and then he like over his head. I didn't take a lot of damage either, Dustin. I felt pretty in control of that. One, because they're not swarming you, which is good. And it does feel like he's losing his mind, not so much there's a virus outbreak. And so like the combat itself was not smooth by any means, but it worked. And like I didn't use the gun much, but it worked fine. And I hate to keep bringing up Resident Evil, but it's like more or less the same thing in that game.
I do think you're right, Nolan. I certainly did use the gun some because I wasn't confident in my ability to just
spacing?
whack everything. Yeah. But in some of these games that can feel like a terrible, terrible mistake, you certainly had to be exploring and looking for ammo, and it's not crazy abundant, but I didn't feel like I had to hoard it quite as hard here. If I saw a group of enemies and had ammo, I felt empowered to use it, which is nice in this genre.
And I used the gun too. However, I got well past the school area, and I only had to reload maybe two or three times. Because I ran from virtually everything.
Absolutely.
And they intentionally give you some tighter hallways as the game progresses, and so they're forcing you to do things. And combat doesn't feel the greatest in there, but I would sometimes I would just run by these claw kids and let them swipe at me. Or there were times where like I know, hey, this is a main hallway, I'm going to be coming back here, so let me kill them, and they would stay dead in that area so that it was a free hallway afterwards. And
say what you will about tank controls, but once you master them and you're in those tight hallways and you pull off a juke and you successfully get around them, best feeling. Also, you need to implement the ground kick because you finish them off when they're on the ground and you don't waste any ammo or nothing. You just kick them.
Good strategy.
And you knife them.
Let's talk puzzles now, because puzzles is a big part of this game. You're solving riddles, like old-fashioned riddles. You are finding and using numerical codes. You're ordering clues correctly in order to get answers. How did you feel about these?
Resident Evil puzzles are better. They just are. I didn't feel like it was the focus here.
Really?
Yeah, not as much. Maybe later they go heavier on it, but the school is a good little challenge. But if you don't like remember very well, and if you don't write anything down, you'll have to backtrack and
Okay,
go look at
yeah.
the clue again, which kind of annoyed me.
Yeah.
I don't know. And backtracking in the school sucked.
I also didn't like them, but for different reasons. I found them kind of immersion breaking. And I know it's psychological horror. Like, the whole point isn't realism. We're supposed to suspend disbelief and just put ourselves there, whatever. But, like, who's taken the time to write
In
puzzle
blood.
clues
In blood, yeah.
in a literary style
Okay.
while all this stuff is
That's-
falling apart, as if that's gonna then bring the hero further along in the story. And the way to do that is to get me to play a certain melody on a bloody piano, which is somehow connected to the thing in the wall that spits out the clue I need. It's so distractingly unrealistic to me. I like puzzles. I like solving things. I like the idea of this immersive, scary experience. But they like go so hard into the like creepy blood, supernatural, and there's no like normal, real, like natural way to make that fit without it being, I don't know, too hard for people to solve or something. I didn't like it. I would much rather there be, and I don't even know what the alternative is, because good puzzles, especially that are immersive, is hard. But I'm almost thinking a game like a Myst or a Riven, where like stuff interacts, but it makes sense, or there's a reason for something. If you're going supernatural, like, let me move a candle and actually open up some kind of weird portal somewhere and walk through it. But I don't know, like, something needs to make sense in the story. And all of these felt like I was solving a puzzle in a video game. They were immersion breaking for me. I don't like that.
So portal appearing, moving candle, more realistic
immersion,
and
yeah.
more immersive than bloody writing.
I mean, in that world, if that's what's going wrong,
I don't know.
I
it doesn't
understand.
feel like it.
I understand, but I give myself to games. Whenever like I'm playing with a game or
Yeah.
interacting really with any medium, I give myself to it. So when it comes to realism, once I press start, you don't press start anymore, but once I begin the game, I put realism out the door and I'm just along for the ride. That's generally me. So I totally understand that with these puzzles, but for me, yeah, it was just a part of the experience. It is over the top. I get it, and ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really over the top. And I'm trying to immerse. Like, the point is you want to be in this experience and get scared. I know I don't like scares, but if I'm going to be in that world, I want to commit to, and I want to be in it, and it pulled me out a little.
Yeah, it kind of goes along with the puzzles. I love how little the game gives you in terms of like context. You just seem to be losing your mind. Like, you're just this dude looking for his daughter, and monsters appear and they look insane, and they don't explain it. It's just like,
Right.
you need to figure this out or you're dead. I love that. Resident Evil at least is like, oh, there's been an outbreak. Squad A is in this room. Like, it makes more sense, right? But this is just like, what?
Nothing here makes sense, and it's intentional. Like
Yeah.
Okay, so even after you go through the school, which is already creepy enough, you go through the clock tower, you move across, you climb back up into the clock tower, you come back out into the school, and it is even worse and dark. Like, it's a different school. So like in multiple of the places you go to, you've got two different versions of it, which that's already insane. The at the very beginning, right, you have a forced death, which whatever, but it's all these like creepy, it looks like the size of little kids with bladed fingers. I think in the US version they're actually with knives, and they come and stab you to death. You go back to that alley and there's no traces of, like, so much of it here is confusing, and by the game's end it answers some things, but I don't think it fully answers everything. Is that Twin
like
Peaks?
5? Yeah, dude.
So
you don't
many
even
questions.
know. You've never seen something so confusing. There's like 5 different endings in this game, right?
5 different endings. One
Yeah.
of them is a joke ending that Kenny wants to talk about.
Well, no spoil.
I
I'm not
don't.
gonna get it, but like,
Oh no, it's a joke ending. I think
Okay,
you have
what
to
is it?
new game plus it, and it's aliens. Like, it's you. You have to go
X-Files.
to a few different locations throughout your gameplay and signal aliens from like a rooftop, from this
Love
place,
it.
from this place, and you see something flash in the sky, and then near the game's end, aliens come and take Harry away. Like it's absolutely ridiculous.
I
but
love that.
four main endings, too bad, too good.
Love that. That's so good. Bad endings?
Yeah, and it's based
Cheryl
on the
dies?
decisions that you make, particularly one very important decision regarding Cheryl and a motorcycle. But you,
That's
you,
fake.
so you can finish the game. One ending, however, I think is even probably more ridiculous than the aliens. Says that it was all just a dying dream. It was.
I mean,
like
that's the most actual.
it is the most
realistic
realistic
response for how crazy
I
this
wish
story
y'all
is. It
would
makes
watch
no
Twin
sense.
Peaks. I wish it's the most confusing thing ever. I love that the dude. Anyways,
Yeah, you're gonna love this more and more,
I
and I do
am.
think your wife would like to watch you play
yeah.
it too.
I do too.
We've talked about the tank controls. We haven't talked much about what they do while they're telling the story with the camera. And I think that's notable. I know it's not completely unheard of in horror genre to try and lean cinematography-ish. But they do that here, at least early, pretty heavily, where they give you a forced camera perspective. And in this game, it's not sort of the cop-out it is in some of the other games, because it's not 2D backgrounds. Like, everything is in 3D. But they do it just for the storytelling sake of it. Like it, hate it, find it distracting, find it interesting. Where do you guys land on that spectrum?
I'm all about fixed cameras. I think that it allows you to see what they intend for you to see. It's different from Resident Evil. Resident Evil has not rendered, or maybe it's pre-rendered, but
Yeah, I think
they have like
pre-rendered backgrounds.
set backgrounds that you see. At least, or
Nah, it's fixed camera angles in there too.
no,
This is
but
different.
It is different because
Yeah.
in Resident Evil, like I'm saying, it's a fixed camera and it is only that option. But in this game,
Sure.
you still have the world around you, and so the camera fixes. There's a few different like
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
angles that it can do. There is a slight difference here. I remember reading about it this week. I like both. I don't prefer it for modern gaming necessarily, but I think it's a great way to get around some of the physical hardware limitations, and I think it allows them to show you. It gives. I mean, that's what movies are. They're all
Yes.
fixed, right? And so this is
Yes.
about B horror movie. And B movie, whatever it is, and I think that fixed camera angles do that well.
See, I do want them in modern games. I think it would be. I think there's still a format for that. Like, just take the tank controls out, and you can still do fixed, because it's everything you just said. It makes the game makers showing you what they want you to see, whether it's a jump scare or just the feeling of one's coming and it doesn't. And also in this one, it does take a step further than Resident Evil. And like early on, it was in my first play. You're going down the alley and you're like panicked about Cheryl, and the camera's like, just like moving with you and like twisting and stuff. I am all for it. I absolutely love it. And in this one, they do give you a button that allows you to look around a room, and it's very handy in like small spaces. You can like actually like kind of break out of the camera angle and like see your room if you need to. So I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah,
Are you?
+1. I thought it was one of the best things they did.
Oh.
It was one of the most effective tools in their storytelling arsenal, I think, was doing some of those real intentional, planned, movie-looking camera shots.
Aged.
PlayStation graphics aren't the best.
But I love them.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have a soft spot for them, but I mean, the game doesn't look great in my opinion. I think they do things well to cover and mask some of that. We talked about the fog and the snow in the town, and I think that helps with draw distance, and I think that helps with so many things. I think making the demon creatures come after you look disturbing allows them to not have to do much detail there or finesse, and Harry looks boxy. I was surprised, however, with the cutscenes. Like, I felt the graphics there were kind of ahead of
Great.
its time,
Yeah.
while the graphics in the game were just a part of its time.
The FMV cutscenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were fantastic. I loved them. One thing about the graphics that really impressed me was more so, I guess in some outside areas it happens, but it's more so in the interior when you need your flashlight. Kenny had mentioned you have like a 3-foot visual distance there, but when you're in the dark and you have your flashlight, it's very terrifying when those little kid things come out of the shadows into the light. They pulled that off really, really effectively. It was scary, and the lighting here, to me, felt better than what was possible at the time. That's obviously not true. They did it, but I guess they just did it better than other people. It was the lighting is really sick.
I think it was mostly a convenient accident. Like, the fact that everything is either in fog or snowy or a really dark
or
room
in the dark.
absolutely helps you make the thing scary, but it also helps you not have to have these super high fidelity graphics. And that's fine. If
That's
it's
true.
a win-win, if you can kind of get more out of it and also communicate what you're doing
Sure. It's clever.
better because of that, like, why not? So it kind of works there. Here, I will say this. Scary games want to be scary. The way you do scary the best is immersion. Bad graphics don't help with immersion. And these graphics aren't bad, but they've aged. And it shows. And I wanted to be more scared of things. And when the thing is just a little pixely and the blood doesn't actually look bloody and it's almost more adorable than it is terrifying just because of, I don't know,
Adorable.
whatever
The little
choice they
kids,
made,
shadows falling
it
over.
doesn't hold up. I think this game was a lot scarier when it came out than it is today.
Man, maybe it is a good thing you didn't do the first play. It would have been a letdown.
Wait, so Kenny, did you
Hey.
get scared this week?
Not especially.
That's interesting because
That's very
you've gotten scared
interesting.
for much less.
From much less, certainly. And I will say I prefer this type of scary. So, like, when we got into it, I was actually kind of wanting it. Now, I don't love the genre. I'm not going to go to it. But if I'm doing scary, I don't want jump scares. I don't want just, like, gore. Like, that feels cheap and tends to feel more Resident Evil-y to me, honestly. I want, like, the feeling to be terrifying. You know, I want the psychological horror, and it went that direction, but it could never quite get there as effectively as I wanted because of just some distracting elements.
I definitely got scared. I see what you mean. Obviously, newer games would pull this. Yeah, newer games gonna new, and they're gonna do it better because you can. But where they bridge the gap of maybe some of the visual aspects that would take you out of that is the sound effects here are really unpleasant. I mean, the enemies have
It's so true.
like the enemies have this noise. There are a couple noises that play to let you know they're in the room or near. One of them sounds like a school bell, and I'm wondering if that's going to be intentional in the story later or something. And the other one's just like this radio static noise. Uncomfortable. There's always some ambient noise going on that made me like really creeped out. And so I think when you take both of those components, the like lack of vision plus the sound, that's where the immersion and the fear comes in. I don't know. I'm really surprised. I'm disappointed in you, Kenny. I thought you were gonna be a scaredy cat.
See, I thought this whole time that you were gonna say that these sounds weren't selling it for you because they were distracting to
Say
me
something
too.
bad about them.
No. 80%, 70% of the sound was fine and immersive.
So low.
And then 30% of the time you have like a factory with a black hole under its floor imploding on itself behind you for some reason. And there are these weird, loud, clanging noises that don't fit anything.
It was the boiler room. It was telling
I
you
know
to
they
go to
were
the boiler
trying
room.
to set the atmosphere and whatever else, but it made no sense. It didn't
I'm so
feel
disappointed
like
in you.
they were trying to do what they wanted. I got what they were going for. I respect respect the vibe, but it was distracting. It pulled me out every time that noise played.
Will say I don't agree with Kenny. However, I can see where he's coming from. I think that there was one night this last week where I was playing with headphones and it was raining outside and it was night. That's probably the worst way to play this game.
No, best.
Best way to play this game. And they go hard on the sound effects. And they use actual music sparingly. I think the music is good. I don't think it's any Resident Evil 2 save room kind of status. Like, that's some of the best of the best.
Sure.
But it's more atmospheric here of what they're giving you. And so actually, because I did, in playing it, I was like, I didn't get much music. I got a lot of sound effects. So I went to YouTube and I pulled up the OST. It's like 40 something tracks. But no, most of it's not music.
Sounds.
It is like just these grindings and these like static noise and it's not something you'd want on any playlist because it is deeply uncomfortable.
That reminds me, I saw on TikTok, when people are like, hey, what are you listening to today when they walk by? This dude goes, hey man, what are you listening to? And he's like, Silent Hill 2 OST ambient noise 6. He put his headphone in and walked away and it played it and it was like,
yeah, exactly. That is some of the tracks. It's just like it's trying to make you uncomfortable. And in fact, I read this week that the composer, I guess, showed some of the people working on the game the stuff that he was coming up with, and they thought that there was some kind of bug in the music that he was showing them.
It sounds like static.
Once he explained to them, no, that's a part of it, and this is what I'm going for, they're like, okay. But like at first, they too were like, where's the music? What's happening here?
He's a Lynch fan. He's a genius. Listen to everything he says.
No, I'm saying they should have compromised a little because it would have been a better end result.
Kenny wanted. That's what he wanted to play.
Clowns are scary. I'm probably more scared.
Stop.
Voice acting. This is pretty early for voice acting. I don't think it's the best, but I don't think it's the worst. Like, we've heard far worse.
Same.
I need
but
more
it's
from the
not
actor.
the shining part of it. No one's coming to this game for the voice acting.
No, and they went vanilla on the actor on purpose. They didn't. They wanted to be an everyman, someone that everybody could write themselves into. I don't know if I ever loved that. It's like, give me a good character. I don't. When everyone needs to see, this is a whole different conversation. But when everyone needs to see themselves in the game, in the book, in the movie, no, get over it. I don't know. Like, I can relate to whatever anyone's going through if you immerse me, to Kenny's point, enough. So anyways, don't give me an everyman, give me a good character.
This is that era where all the games, they were like, oh, we need to be able to this was like customize your face, but it was getting towards there. They were like, we need to insert the character in, or the player in this scary environment. I'm with you. I want Leon S. Kennedy.
Yeah,
I don't want Harry Smith Mason.
Give me a good character, especially when you've got so few other characters, supporting cast.
Yes.
There are, 4 maybe other actually alive cast members?
I like the cop.
Yeah, she's cool, right? But she shows up, disappears for a long time, comes up. So Sybil, I think is her name. But you've got a few characters, but you've got a few. If you have a big supporting cast of characters, then maybe you could tone it back on your main one.
Cheryl?
But
where did you go? There's a demon right there.
Yeah, pretty bad. All right, dude, there's a lot of Silent Hill content. However, there's not recent Silent Hill content. I believe that it has gone.
They Konami'd it.
They Konami'd it. And this is why people haven't played it as much, and this is why people don't talk about it as much. I think it could have had as much staying power as Resident Evil, but they just didn't remake, they didn't reinvent, they didn't do those things. And so you've got a visual novel in 2001, a feature film in 2006. You've actually got a reimagining of this game called Shattered Memories in 2009 for the Wii. That's interesting.
What?
Yeah,
okay.
They also. I also found out, this is crazy, that there's a radically altered version of Silent Hill released exclusively in Japan for the Game Boy Advance, Nolan. It's
Whoa.
it's a
It's
game.
it's like a text-based
Yeah.
version of the game.
It's a game book style visual novel. People in
Okay.
North America didn't like it because of no
We don't
music, and yeah, we don't read. And then there are sequels, right? Silent Hill 2, 3, and 4 that came out in 2001, 2003, and 2004, respectively, and that's it.
I'm more of a Silent Hill movie guy than I'm a Resident Evil movie guy, so I disagree with Kenny. I thought the movie was pretty good.
I'll say respect to letting the games exist and not remaking them forever.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Respect. And I talk big trash about the film, never saw it because I hate scary movies. So it's more the idea of I'd rather watch something that's action-y for my scary movie, and I'd rather immerse in something scary as a video game, is all I'm trying to say.
What a guy.
I don't think the film was super well loved, though.
Especially by people who haven't seen it. If you want a copy of Silent Hill for your PlayStation, you're going to be spending a pretty penny. $110 used. That's used.
Wow.
$610 brand new.
And is
That's
that a
the
black
scary part.
label or a greatest
That's
hits
a
label?
BL.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. Scared boy turned brave man, Kenny, will go first.
All right. Yeah, so I've got to say no on this one. Not just because it's not my genre preference. In fact, I will say that if I'm going to do scary, this is the kind of scary that I want. Like, I respect the psychological horror, the ambient, the put you in it better. That wasn't the hurdle for me. The primary hurdle for me are almost the opposite of that. I wanted to be scared, but the graphics, the distracting music, the wacky, meaningless puzzles, it kept breaking me out of that and making me just feel like I was playing an old video game, which I was, but it's got to get past that and get to you. So I've got a lot of respect for what this game was trying to do. I understand why it was popular, because there's some very well done things here, but I don't think it holds up super well today. I think the main problem for me is an aging problem, and it didn't, because of some aging factors, it didn't deliver on the goods of getting me to that place psychologically that it was trying to, and that's a problem with a scary game. So, no New Game Plus from me. And I'm now more scared than I was playing the game all week.
Wow.
That
Kenny's new theme
But
song.
that should mean it's for you. If it didn't scare you, you don't like getting scared.
No,
This is
but
like the
you wanna
perfect
be
survival
scared
horror
in
for
these
you.
games.
Right, it didn't do what it was trying to do. Like, I was great with the fact that I wasn't. Like, I was having a jolly time running around.
What are
You
you,
wanna-
saying?
You wanted to adopt one of those mutant dogs that was coming
Yeah,
out.
let me raise one. I'll trim
me
its
pet.
nails
Gosh.
and give it a cute name and give it a bath, clean off all the blood.
Let me say
We're
something
best friends.
that
All right,
makes
Noli
sense
Poly.
around here. Okay, having been a really big Resident Evil fan and always been wanting to get into the series, I was super pumped to play this week. Bad timing because Diablo 4 beta also took place this week, so like my time was split. But like I said, especially after knowing the Twin Peaks thing, I'm going to start the game over with my wife. We're going to play through it. I can see us playing Silent Hill 2 as well. Because this game is definitely different than Resident Evil. A lot of the same gameplay tropes, mechanics are at play, but you have a completely different, more cinematic experience to me. Resident Evil can get kind of Looney Tunes at times. I mean, you fight some like ridiculous things. Like just you're like, okay. And it keeps getting like, and that's part of the fun, right? It's just like, how ridiculous can this get? This has giant like bats flying at you and like stuff like that. But it's not focused on that. Those things are just there. They're part of the environment, and the environment that you're in is helpless and awful. I love it. I really, really love the execution here. I think they made something that's definitely its own identity, and I can't wait to uncover more of the story. So I am a scared boy, and I give it New Game Plus.
That is no from Kenny, yes from Nolan. Does require 2/3 of the vote, so the power is in my hands. PlayStation is an era that I love. Don't love every PlayStation game, but I love and respect the era. A lot was happening there. I was playing Final Fantasy VII at this time, so I didn't play any of these horror games. And they're not necessarily a genre that I go after, somewhat similar to Kenny. I did a few years ago play with my wife a game called Alan Wake, which actually reminded me a lot of Silent Hill this week, maybe even more than Resident Evil, because you've got a lone everyman that's out in the town with a flashlight. You've got a whole thing of like shadows, monsters coming out of the shadows, things like that. It's in a town shrouded in fog. It's very, very comparable. But coming back to Silent Hill and playing it in 2023 presents some aging notes, and we've mentioned them, no reason to recap them now, that leads me to believe not everyone is going to enjoy this game. However, I did, and thought that it was very immersive, and that there's an intriguing but absolutely wild story here that I enjoyed. Enjoy is such a weird word to use for these kinds of games. Every moment of this, and I would encourage you to play it with a guide, or you're just going to get lost for a long time. I definitely give Silent Hill my vote for New Game Plus status. I wish that it was a series still around today. In many ways, I respect it and like it even more than Resident Evil, which means that Silent Hill is New Game Plus certified.
You had me there for a sec, brother.
I was pulling a Kenny.
Yeah, you
But
were.
what did you think? YouTube, 65% said yes, it's worth playing today. 5% said no.
Scaredy cats.
Or brave
Or
boys.
not. Yeah, what?
30% have never played it before, which I probably could have guessed that spread. It's a good
that's
amount
accurate.
of people that have never played it
Yeah.
because it's faded into obscurity. And then 65% said yes.
Yeah.
Hearing from our community this week, a lot of people played, a lot of new people wrote in. Ivan said, although I've been playing video games since the Atari times when I was a little kid, this game is one of the cornerstones of my gaming life. The one that marked the transition between kid games and deep, investing, mind-blowing, emotionally breaking, conspiracy theory-making ones. Since the first time I saw it at a friend's house and I saw him walk through the corridors of a dark, desolated school, it was engraved in my brain. It was everything I didn't know I loved and could be possible in a game. This is one of the few games I completed 100% without any guide. I walked through every street, tried every door, read every piece of paper and every poster on the wall. I looked for clues everywhere and got all the endings by myself. It felt amazing every time I got a new scene by doing something different. I could go on for hours talking about this game, but I will finish by saying that the town of Silent Hill feels like a hometown for me. As
Oh my
sick
God.
as that sounds.
I have a news. That is really impressive, actually, that you did all
Yeah.
of the endings, because this game is not short at all.
No.
At all.
And to get each of those endings, like, that's like you have to do different things.
Yeah, nice job.
Clint said horror isn't really my preferred genre, and I find it really nice to have a degree of distance through the game's third-person view that allows the events to unfold on Harry instead of me. I've come back to this title from time and time again, but never made it to any of the endings, and I'm planning to change that soon because this game and its story are fascinating and something that should be experienced.
I wonder if the other material, like the books, or you said there's like a
Yeah, there's like a visual novel.
I wonder if those are like the same story or if they're like side stories.
I don't know. I like visual novels.
Yeah, I feel
They're-
like you would probably
Yeah.
gain something from that.
Satan was Santa said For a kid who grew up on Goosebumps books, somehow reaching adolescence left me terrified of the prospect of experiencing visual horror media. My brain would spin thinking about watching a horror movie or playing a horror game, and it would take until I was about 22 before I was truly confronted that fear in my first full playthrough of a horror game in Silent Hill. From a technical aspect, the game may not look incredible or play like a dream, but to me, that's all part and parcel of the whole experience. On that first playthrough, I could only play for 1 hour sessions at most, and I had no desire to go anywhere more than what I felt I had to, and I rushed my way through the bad ending. Almost a decade later, on my replay, I would explore it endlessly, get the best ending, and left feeling a small piece of fear mastered. It's strange, it's weird, it's uncomfortable, and it's everything horror does well in my estimation. Let Kenny respond to this one. He's got thoughts.
I mean, that's not the experience I had, but I'm glad that it delivered for people, because that is good horror to me. Is that psychological, just like you can only handle it for an hour because it's too much kind of vibe.
Horror is a somewhat hard word to say.
It is.
Some might say, how good was Goosebumps?
Some might say
Great.
that. You're right. Goosebumps was wonderful, especially the Choose Your Own Adventure Goosebumps.
I love, all Goosebumps content was great.
R.L. Stein. Finally, Levi said, my first experience with this game was watching my childhood friend down the road make it to the school without a player's guide. We were both so terrified and overwhelmed that I always wanted to pick the game up and try to play it, but I had some real mental blocks. A lot of people didn't want to play this because it's too scary. Not kidding. So when it was picked this week, some 20-ish years later, it gave me actual chills, and I had to at least attempt it. Boy, was I glad I started following NGP, because this playthrough was very fulfilling. Finally, I can mark this off my bucket list, and it was a real treat to share it with my wife and kids after all these years. A good family game.
Oh, no.
But does it hold NGP status? No. The maps can be frustrating.
Right.
Bosses are simple. Enemies at this current time in gaming are silly, and without a guide at hand, I doubt anyone would want to run back and forth multiple times. For me, Silent Hill is that book you read as a kid that you couldn't explain why it left such a mark on your soul. And in this day and age of instant gratification, nobody can slow down and read except for a select few. And Dustin. All the same, thanks for letting me conquer my childhood fears along with this community. NGP forever.
Hey, everybody needs to stop doing the Kenny thing where you I loved this game this week. It was a great experience. I shared it with my family. No New Game Plus, so I don't recommend it.
What's crazy with Levi's thing is that he not only shared the game with his family, I think last night they watched the movie together. He took a picture of his young daughter and shared it on Discord in front of the TV screen.
If people like that aren't going to recommend the thing, who will?
Who
will?
Good, Nolan. Who will? If you want, who will?
Man.
For now, we're setting aside Silent Hill and all of your commentary. Thank you for writing in. You can do that each and every week to ngppodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to try to include your thoughts as a part of our episodes. And we're going to go to a new game, but boys, once again, we are not randomly selecting.
Oh, no.
Okay.
For
What's that
the get ready. This is scary. All right, Kenny?
Patreon pool.
Yeah, this is scary.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
No, it is not a Patreon poll. No, it is not a guest episode. No, it is not a director's episode. For the first time ever, we will be hosting our very first Director's Court.
Come.
Over the past few weeks, our directors have been in deliberation, working fastidiously to select a game from NGP's past to have us, as a community, revisit. And next week, we will be bringing this game to court.
Oh my god. Wait,
This is going to be
this is new
so
format and everything, dude.
New format and everything. You cannot expect a normal episode from New Game Plus. You can expect something you've never seen before in true Phoenix Wright style. Nolan will be the defense attorney defending the game that was selected. I will be the prosecuting attorney prosecuting the game that was selected. And you knew it when we started talking about it. Kenny will serve as judge.
He will serve because I think we're going to get him a robe
And a gavel.
Gavel? Yeah,
I'm
of course.
definitely
needs a-
finding a gavel.
Yeah,
I don't know
needs a
where, but
gavel.
I will
And
find
no hat,
one.
Kenny.
We'll see. Some courtrooms have decorum.
All right. Here are the pieces of information that I was given by the director team
Oh my
to
goodness, this is big.
reveal the game that they selected. Oh, hey, and in honor of revisiting a game that we didn't rightfully give our vote for,
Yeah.
I today wore this shirt.
Okay.
For
Wait,
those of you not watching at home, he's sporting
purple?
Spyro.
Yeah.
Big old splashed across his chest today.
It's a cool shirt,
Yes.
by the way. What the heck?
Thank you.
Wait,
My
is
wife
that
got
the
it.
reveal?
It is not the reveal, unfortunately.
Oh,
They did not pick
okay.
Spyro. I wish we could come back to it, but here is the reveal. It originally received a split vote with only Nolan voting yes.
Okay. Oh man.
It is part of a series that has had other games played on the podcast.
It could be anything. Who knows?
Okay. Just
It's
a
from
few.
early in the podcast, specifically
Okay.
episode 65.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say episode whatever Mega Man 3 was. Okay.
Not that early.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's early.
So that does cut out a good amount, right? It's not Mega Man
Sure.
3. Was that
not
early?
Civ
No,
2.
Mega Man 2 was early.
But I also didn't give Civ 2 my vote.
Okay. It's on the Nintendo 64.
I love it. I love it.
The game that the directors have nominated to be
is it?
revisited is Bomberman 64.
Okay.
I was mad at y'all for this, I think. I was upset.
This will be good.
It
We
might
played-
have been. It might have been the saltiest you've been. Well,
One
you were
of?
salty.
One of. This
Yeah,
was an important
You
game
could have
for
flavored my soup that week.
me.
Like,
We have played Bomberman Hero
Somewhat more recently.
more recently, and I feel like that one went over better for y'all because it's different. It is very different than
I did not
Bomberman
like that
64.
one either. So this
Oh,
is going to
God.
be interesting this week. Here's the thing. I will do a first play.
Yes.
But we do not need you, community, to write in your thoughts on the game. What we need is your evidence. We need you to submit evidence either for or against the
What?
game that Nolan and I will use in our court proceedings
I'm gonna
as
point
our
finger.
defense.
and say objection.
Objection.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got to figure out how we're going to be using those sound effects because now that I've been thinking through it, we're going to object far too many times for them
Yeah,
to be able to put in
constantly.
that many objections. So
But I also want the song that plays. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh, yeah.
dun, 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 but we can't use it.
all right. So suffice it to say, we're going hard with this one. Submit or play along Bomberman 64 again with us, maybe for the first time because we played it so early. And secondly, submit your pieces of evidence to be used in the courtroom next week.
Don't be guilty of missing out on our Discord server. Go to discord.gg/newgameplus.
don't end up in prison because they won't let you get online and support us on patreon.com.
Bad.
I know. We've got a huge group of people who vote yes to NGP by supporting us on a monthly basis, including our large list of producers: Adam, Alex, and Marlene, Antonin, Ben, Big Dude, Brunt, Ellis, Francesca, Gimbin, J. Robert, Jared, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Clint, Nicknack, Corey, Lawai, Levi, Mal, Maximum, Mr. Lattes, Pedro, Sajin, Shauna, Subsonic Steven, Tazelhoft, Thomas, Unbelievable, and Zion. We've got some awesome director level supporters who go
Yes.
above and beyond and are the reason
For
you're
the
getting
season.
Director's Court next week. So these are the folks that you can thank for some brand new and really interesting content coming around the corner. Bro Jim, Daniel, DH Bowser, Garlisle, and Super Hypered. You guys are the best. And we want to say, hey, what's up to Fishy, our newest producer level supporter. Thank you for joining in.
Hey, what's up?
You can follow us on social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. All of those links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett, who, if I am correct and not mistaken, just had a birthday.
Happy. No,
Aw.
I ain't gonna do that.
Happy
man.
birthday, Danny boy. Join us next week as we play again Bomberman 64. Until then, do you want to know who I am, guys?
Yeah, I want to know. Keep
All
reading.
right. I'm just trying to have to find something. Until
Right.
then, okay, I'll tell y'all if y'all really want it.
I'm ready.
Until then, let me tell you in
Oh my
count.
God.
No, this
Five.
is good.
3, 2, 1.
David
4.
Lynch.
I'm the judge and loving it.
I'm Agent Dale Cooper.
And this has
Especially-
been New Game Plus.